Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our introduction to meditation this evening. So we're in between the two teaching series. Tonight, we're doing the introduction to meditation, and then the first Tuesday in January, I think there's going to be an overview of the upcoming series, which will then start the third Tuesday in January. So tonight, we'll just enjoy each other's company, talk a little bit about meditation, do some meditation. Really, we're going to do pretty much what we do on Sunday mornings this evening, but just spend a little more time with that and then talk as people might have questions or want to share about their meditation. So we'll begin with refuge at the top of the handout sheet. And we recite this 3 times. In 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this Bodhi mind. Essence, nature, moving, love, mandal, until full Bodhi I seek refuge. In 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this Bodhi mind. Essence, nature, moving, love, mandal, until full Bodhi I seek refuge. In 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this Bodhi mind. Essence, nature, moving, love, mandal, until full Bodhi I seek refuge. And bodhicitta. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. And so all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through for boundless states. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. So all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through for boundless states. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. So all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through for boundless states. So the line that we just recited, so all may rest in their clear mind sphere, that's really what we want to do this evening. Like we talk about on Sundays, there's a lot of reasons to take up meditation, and everybody has their own reasons, and those change daily for why you are drawn to it, interested in it, what keeps you motivated to maintain your practice. But really, I think that line, at least for me, kind of sums it up. To be able to learn how to focus your attention and become present to your experience in a way that you can then have ease of mind and then rest in your natural state. That's a pretty good reason to meditate. So I think before we talk further, we'll do a little meditation. And quite honestly, I think this is going to be a little bit free form, if you guys are okay with that. I tend to work best that way, rather than having a real set plan. So we'll do a little meditation, and then we'll talk a bit. We'll do a little more meditation, maybe have question and answers, take a break, and come back and dedicate. Something along those lines. So to begin with, we want to assume a posture that's conducive to meditation, which means a posture that's conducive to the flow of energy. So, much to be said, the posture that we use most often here at Dawn Mountain is a posture that's called the posture of great ease. And it's, if you're sitting on a cushion, you want your legs crossed, and they can be in lotus if you're a person that can do that. Half lotus is good. If not, just a simple cross, one in front of the other. If you're in a chair, the key is to not be leaning back in the chair, but to have your feet flat on the floor. Because whether you're on a cushion or in a chair, you want your spine to be naturally straight. So you want your chest to be lifted. You want your waist up off your hips, and then your chest. And again, many ways to do this. If you have a favorite way, do that. But a way is to take your shoulders and sort of pull them up and then allow them to roll back and down, relax down. But keep your chest open and keep your chest area in a, sometimes it's referred to as a dignified way. And I think that's kind of helpful because it is sort of, it's a strong but natural way to elongate the back or have the back sort of straight and then the neck elongated. So after you get your back, your chest open, you can think about your vertebrae, one on top of the other, like a stack of gold coins. You can imagine a balloon, a string with a balloon tied to the top of your head and pulling your head towards the ceiling. That will help elongate the neck and give you that sense of being raised naturally up out of the waist and have your chest strong. And then slightly tuck the chin like a swan. And then you can gaze, very unfocused gaze, down the bridge of your nose to a spot maybe 2 or 3 feet in front of you on the floor. You can have your tongue touching the top of your mouth where the top of your mouth and your teeth meet. Again, this is all meant to be natural after you get it set up. But that actually will do a couple of things, including keep you from drooling. But it also keeps the mouth slightly open, which is good. You don't want to have your mouth closed tightly. Karmic winds can flow if your mouth is slightly open. And then your hands can rest on your knees or anywhere on your thighs, whatever's comfortable. If you like to have your hands in a mudra of meditation, the posture for meditation with your hands, the right hand on top of the left, thumbs touching, that's also fine. You can go back and forth. But mostly, you want to have some intention with your posture, but you want it to be comfortable. And if at any point you become tense, you want to try to breathe into that tension and relax. You can also move, stretch, change positions, move from a chair to a cushion. This isn't about trying to be, perfectly straight and unmoving. It's really about setting an intention, allowing the energy to flow, and having it be as natural as possible. So once you feel like you've got a posture that works for you, we're going to begin to allow our mind to relax. And how do we do this? by allowing our thoughts to simply appear, arise, but then dissipate. Much easier said than done, but it can be done. It's what we're training in. So a way to think of this is your mind is like an ocean. Your thoughts are like waves. The waves will come, but they will return from where they came. If we don't make story, if we don't get hooked by them. So how do we do that? Because that's typically what we do. We're going to rest our attention on the breath. We're going to experience our body breathing. So we're going to notice how it feels when we inhale. And as our breath moves through our body. So as it moves into the nostrils, the chest, the belly, and each of us will just do this as it feels comfortable and natural for you. But the key is to have your attention resting there. Not like a tight concentration. That's not what we're doing. We're gently, lightly resting our attention on the breath. So whatever you've been busy with today, set it aside. You can return to it after this period of meditation. At this moment, we don't need to think about anything. We don't need to worry. We don't need to plan. We don't need to think about yesterday. Wish things had happened differently. Let go of our lists. Let go of our planning. And simply be right here, relaxed, resting our attention on the breath, allowing ourselves to simply be at ease. Check your legs. See if you're holding tension in your legs. Let them relax. Your jaw. Relax your jaw. Relax your eyes back into their sockets. Relax your skull away from the scalp. Relax your hands. And breathe. Know that you're breathing. As you breathe in, notice you're breathing in. When you exhale, experience yourself exhaling. When you become distracted by thought, by thinking gently in a non-judging way. Just bring your attention back to the breath as often as you need to, which will be again and again, and that's fine. You can think of your body like a mountain, naturally still and stable. And your breath like the wind, unrestricted, moving freely. And your mind like the sky, open and clear. Spacious, uncontrived. The body breathing and knowing that it's breathing naturally. Put a slight emphasis on the exhale, not enough to disrupt a natural flow, but enough to really relax you. And you might notice at the end of the exhalation, there's a very brief gap. And often it's a space where the next thought has not yet arisen. So in a sense, we want to expand that space. Get a sense of what that feels like. If you find yourself feeling dull, you can energize your meditation by paying more attention to the breath and how it feels as it's flowing through your body in a very detailed kind of way that can counter dullness. If you find yourself agitated, just relax into the exhalation, and that can calm you down. And now we'll bring our awareness to our heart center. And a blue home there in our heart center, or a blue orb of light. And together we're going to sound home. And as we do, we're going to allow ourselves to simply merge with the sound. Hung is the syllable for primordial wisdom. It's a seed syllable. It's very powerful. It's an opportunity to resonate with our own innate primordial wisdom. And we'll do this at our own pace until it naturally dissipates. So with that meditation, we used both sound and then our breath to focus our attention. So, it gives us an opportunity to work with a couple of different methods of cultivating attention. After Sunday's meditation this past Sunday, I took my niece and her friend to lunch who had been here for our meditation, and I had led Sunday as I am this evening. And they asked me, actually, her friend asked me afterward, well, what is mindfulness? And so I thought, and it was really great because then I got to hear them. I said, well, what do you think it is? What is it to you? And so they both talked about it, and it was really good for me to hear them share like that. But it also made me realize that I had just spent an hour talking about meditation and mindfulness, and that question was asked. So, and it makes sense, those of us especially that have practiced for a while, because honestly, it's like, it's so simple in a way, but it's so complex. There's so many ways to talk about it and to think about it. So it makes sense that you could, hear someone talk about it and practice it and then ask, well, what is mindfulness? And maybe I didn't spend that much time talking about mindfulness itself as much as I did meditation. But, what we're doing when we meditate, at least here, at least when I'm leading it, what I'm hoping to do is, gain some facility with focusing our attention, which is mindfulness and awareness. Those are the two kind of aspects of active attention. So, actually my niece answered for me. So I said, what would you say mindfulness is? And she's like, well, it's when you know what you're doing. And I said, well, that's pretty good. That's exactly what it is. And I guess she'd also she didn't get this from what I had said that morning. So I think she's actually done quite a bit of reading, and she's done retreat with Kaizen Rinpoche. Yeah, she's been in the right place at the right time a few times to have really heard some wonderful teachings. But she brought up the thing that we've all heard. If you're washing dishes, know that you're washing dishes. If you're walking, walk. If you're eating, eat. And all that sounds so simple, but that's exactly what we're trying to do, and it's so not easy. Which is why we meditate, because when we meditate, we have an opportunity to work with it, to learn what does it feel like to really be present, and to bring your attention and rest it on the breath, so that eventually you can have that attention present in your life and your experience. But to first learn about it in meditation and then practice it on a regular basis is when you can really begin then to gain some facility with it and some understanding of what is mindfulness. What does it mean to be mindful? So, an example, I went to Fleetwood Mac last night. And, I was with a bunch of people. Actually, there's a lot to be said about last night because I was trying to coordinate 10 people having dinner beforehand, and that fell apart because, anyway, it just fell apart. And it was fine, but it caused me to sort of get, into my mode of got to fix everything. Everything has to be perfect. And it's funny because the friends that I was with, they all knew that I was going to be doing this evening, doing the introduction to meditation. Of course, I invited them all. None of them are here. Uh, so anyway, I think they were probably like, you might want to go ahead and practice some of what you're going to talk about tomorrow night because really we're fine. But one group was in one part of town and one was in another, and but I did. I relaxed and I started laughing about it. But the key is to be able to know when that's happening to you, and that's what this mindfulness and cultivating attention to where when you feel yourself getting hooked, you see it, you can feel it. I knew it. I knew the moment I was getting worked up, I could feel it, I knew it. It still was hard to do anything about it, but I was able to because I was aware of it because I've practiced being aware. Otherwise, I would have just, been in a state for a while. And as it was, I wasn't, I'm like, okay, you guys go to that point and we'll go, and then we're going to meet here and everything's going to be fine. So that's one example of how, gaining some facility in being able to be aware to the point where you can break your pattern. I think, when Ann and Harvey do their teachings on exactly that, how do you interrupt your patterns? For me, that's when I get really lit up because I have a lot of patterns, as we all do, but mine are real easy to see, that I'm trying to work with. And if you really do get in tune to it, you can, see it happening, and then you have the opportunity to respond rather than react. Because once you get into the reactive pattern, you're gone, at least for a period of time, you're gone. But if you can sort of work with it before you get totally caught in that pattern, then you can respond and bring a little wisdom to it, bring a little calm to it. And I do this at work, at my office, all the time. I can feel myself when I hear things in the hall, when, things are not going the way that I would like for them to go. But before I get really off my game or caught up in the reaction, if I can just stop. And one way I do it is I feel my feet. Harvey teaches that a lot, and it's the fastest way. Getting in touch with your breath is fast, but sometimes for me, real physical, like really quick physical. Feel my hands, feel my feet, and then I can think about the breath, take a breath, and then immediately you have options. And then you can model, in this case, what you want other people to be doing instead of, are you crazy? But back to Fleetwood Mac. So the other thing I wanted to mention along those lines. So, I've been to the Fleetwood Mac concerts the last few years that they've come. I'm a big Fleetwood Mac fan. And so they take the stage, and it's awesome. And, we're all excited. And then I find myself, they're doing that song. And I remember I went to see him in 1976 in Las Vegas with my first husband. And then I was thinking, his name is Fred. And I was thinking, when Chip hears his name, he says, Fred who? My current husband. And so I'm laughing about that. I am in so much story at this point. I'm not even really present to the concert, to the music, to the experience. My mind, I'm caught in thought, lost in thought. Which it's not like that's a big deal in this case, but it's a great example, I think. The difference between being present and really just enjoying the music and having thoughts that hook you, and then there you go. Instead of just being present to what you're experiencing, what's before you, what's arriving to your senses, your hearing, your sight, because there was plenty of all of that. And it's a very natural thing, but it was interesting because, again, I kind of caught myself and I'm like, enjoy the concert. Really listen to the music and, notice what the guitar sounds like. And, Lindsey Buckingham is a fantastic guitarist. Really appreciate that and be present to that. and not thinking about, what are they going to do next? And I hope they do Gold Dust Woman. And, I wonder if she'll wear her gold shawl. And, all the things we do. It's just amazing how we spend so much time on autopilot, instead of really being present to what we're experiencing. So all that energy that we're putting into reacting to our experience is taking us out of the experience. So if we can put that energy back into it, that's when we can really see and hear and be in a really ripe, juicy way, because all of our energy is there, present, instead of, thinking and lost. So I think, again, I get very excited about this. I think meditation is exciting. I think what we have the opportunity to do with it. I think mindfulness, knowing what you're doing when you're doing it, being present to what's happening, it's amazing. So in case I forget later, I also want to say that Claire is going to be doing a Mindfulness for Everyone series beginning January 12th, which is a Monday at 7 p.m. There will be 6 of those. So if any of you are interested in that, Claire has done this series a few times now, and each and every time people just report that it was amazing and wonderful. So some people will take the course because they're new to meditation and they want to learn about meditation. They want to learn about mindfulness. Or some people will maybe have some experience with that, but they want help or want to share about how to get a practice going or how to stay motivated for a practice. How do you keep your practice alive? And Claire is absolutely amazing with that. So that's something we're going to be offering in January. So it's very much in keeping with what we're talking about now. So I wanted to be sure and mention that. So we could do some more meditation, or we could talk a little bit. Let me think if there's anything else I want to say before we talk. I guess the only thing I would want to say that I haven't said, and really, I think Ann and Harvey will be talking a lot about this in the series that will start in January, the 3rd Tuesday in January. But everything we're doing here in trying to understand meditation and mindfulness, everything that was done in the last series on the 4 immeasurables, cultivating love and compassion, joy and equanimity, all of that can become the basis for traditional Tibetan Buddhist practice for anyone that's interested in that. So sometimes I think we take it for granted that people know, but I'm not sure who may be watching or who even here may not really understand that. So I just want to say that, our Sunday program is really all about offering meditation and an opportunity to learn about meditation or to just simply come together and meditate, no matter what interests you have beyond that, or if you have any interest in what we offer beyond that. We have the mindfulness programs that we do with families that Simone is doing, and we'll be beginning a new series for the 9 to 12-year-olds that starts January 11th, Sunday, January 11th. So all of these classes that we're doing, Claire's class, Simone's work, this Sundays, the Tuesday teaching series that Ann and Harvey do, they're more than going to bring in the Buddhist principles and philosophy into those teachings. But it's all then something that, if you're interested in traditional practice, we also offer that. And we actually come together on the second and fourth Tuesdays to do practice together at 6:30. So there's a lot that we offer here. And if at any point someone has questions around that, please ask. And we're going to do a little question and answer today, so there'll definitely be an opportunity. But we sometimes find out later that people are a little bit confused about how this all fits together. So I wanted to mention that. So I think now maybe we'll do, if anybody has any questions, we'll do that for a bit, and then maybe take a break, and then come back and do some meditation. Robert, do you want to come get the microphone and ask your question?
Thank you for taking my question. And I'm
not sure I'll be able to answer it, but I'll try.
I'm sure you will. Can you speak a little bit to, and I know for myself and maybe for people starting out with a practice, can you speak a little bit to how to overcome the physical discomforts or pain even of just sitting down? Because I think that's probably a lot of people will find, and it's maybe a discouraging point in terms of getting a regular practice started.
Mm-hmm. So do you mean if you have a particular problem, or just in general? As we all do, in terms of, there will be moments of discomfort. But are you talking about that general kind of discomfort, or?
I'm talking like, for example, if you could get into, I guess even for handicapped people, if there's, other alternatives.
Yeah, well, I think that would be sort of, something that would need to be talked about on an individual basis. But in general, I think it really is about working with yourself, being very patient and gentle with yourself, and not thinking that you have to do anything that isn't working for you or isn't comfortable until you find what is. Like I've had, several of my teachers have told me, that I really, really should be doing lotus position, that it opens the channels in a way that you can't accomplish otherwise. And I've tried it, and I can do it for 2 minutes until I'm just, I have to, and then I need help getting out of it. So it just doesn't work. And even half lotus, at this point, maybe if I were younger, I would put more energy into it. And I did when I was younger, and it still didn't work. So that's not a good excuse. But I guess it's to say, I've been meditating for 22 years, and I meditate with Ajahn Rinpoche, have done many retreats, including month-long retreats, where it was just meditation, meditation, meditation. And I would squirm, and I would get up, and I would move to a chair, and in our tradition, that's all fine. It's not like some of the Zen centers, not all of them, but some Zen centers. I probably could not do very well there. I would get smacked a lot if it were the, that version of a Zen center. So I don't know if I'm really being very helpful, except that for me, my advice is just work with yourself and do what's comfortable. And if you need to move around, if you need to change your position, yoga's what saved me. My yoga practice is everything. And then my Qigong, and Claire helped me with my Qigong. So I've told her before, I think that we need to bring back her Qigong class. So I mean, availing yourself of complementary disciplines, I think would be really wonderful. If you're serious about taking up a practice and it's uncomfortable sitting for lengths of time, I would take up a yoga practice. I would try that, or a Tai Chi, or any movement, and and then, like I say, being gentle with yourself, and not feeling like this is one more thing that you've got to do perfectly, and you've got to get it right away, and you've got to submit to a lot of discomfort. That's not what we're about here anyway. And really in Tibetan Buddhism, there's probably some teachers who might put a premium on it, but fortunately mine have not. You do want to be able to sit for lengths of time, and you do want to be able to have a spine that's straight enough that your energy is flowing freely. And actually, that will, if you can do that, and if you keep your chest lifted, which you can see I'm collapsed, but right now we're kind of talking. But when you're meditating, if you keep your chest lifted, Sogyal Rinpoche, and that's the book that I read, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying that Sogyal Rinpoche wrote in 92. I had the very good fortune, a client actually recommended it to me, and I read it and started doing his meditation, and that's what I did for years before I discovered Non Mountain. But he says in his book, you don't want to put undue pressure on yourself, and you don't want to go for lengths of time that are longer than you can comfortably sustain. A lot of masters will tell you to do 10 minutes when you're first starting out, and then 20 minutes, and then 40 minutes, an hour, and then whatever, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're talking about Nindro, where you're going to be doing a lot of accumulations, you definitely want to find something that works for you. And you want to try different things. You want to be gentle with yourself. Is that helpful?
Yes, very. And I admire Claire's floaties and.
Yeah, I was going to say, take note of what Claire does.
Yeah.
She figures out what she needs, and she brings her little floaties and whatever type of cushion, and
Right.
and again, moving around and changing your position. Anne is very, very good at this. You'll have opportunities to ask Anne. She's very good at doing this visualization where you set up your posture, and then Claire has talked about it, helping her. Where you things sort of hang. I think that works really well when she's here doing it and setting it up. It's hard for me to do that on my own. But yeah, keeping your chest, that's what I was going to say about Sogyal Rinpoche. He says that the power of the posture is in the chest area. That if you keep that lifted, it gives everything else, a basis. Your legs, definitely, and relaxing your legs down and really relaxing them. Like several times during that meditation earlier, I found my legs tense and I kept relaxing them, because then that gives you a foundation too. Relaxing your legs down. But then keeping your chest lifted. And again, you want your shoulders, though, down. You don't want your shoulders like this. That would be very uncomfortable very quickly. But yet you want your chest lifted, which is why if you go like that, your chest can be lifted, but your shoulders are down. And then you've got to kind of work with your neck to get all that, and kind of go back and forth until you figure out where your sweet spot is, because everybody's different. And then your hands, can be on your knees. They can be in here. This is a classic posture also. And Kaizen Rinpoche, taught this one a lot, or used it. I mean, everybody uses it, but so sometimes I'll go back and forth. That sometimes will kind of, if I'm getting really uncomfortable, just sitting here like this, if I do this, it sort of helps me elongate somehow. I'm not sure if that's really the intention. I mean, really the intention is channels and things, but it helps me somehow get back elongated.
Thank you.
But mostly, have a sense of humor, be patient with yourself, be gentle, figure, talk to people.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? So maybe we'll take a break and then come back and do more meditation. Yeah.
There's snacks.
Yeah, we'll have some snacks. We'll take a little break. That way, also, if some questions come up, we'll start with questions before we do the next meditation. Yes, so if anybody at a distance wants to give us names, we'll put them in the prayer book and share those at the end of the practice.
You might explain it.
Yeah, I don't know who at a distance might be new. I think Joe is the only one that hasn't been here in person before. So we put names in the prayer book of people who we want to dedicate our merit to at the end of this practice. Anyone that may be sick or experiencing difficulty, anyone that may have recently passed, particularly within the last 49 days. That's meant to be a really important time to share merit and send good wishes and blessing energy too. Thanks, Joan.
You explain things well.
Hmm?
You explain things well.
Well, thank you. I use a lot of words to do it, don't I? So we'll take a break.
Dawn Mountain offers traditional Buddhist teachings primarily in the Tibetan tradition in a way that is accessible to contemporary Americans. Having studied and practiced for many years under recognized Tibetan masters, and understanding that these teachings provide a way to realize the natural state of mind that embodies profound wisdom and deep love, Anne Klein and Harvey Aronson wished to share these traditions here in the United States. As a result, they established Dawn Mountain in June 1996, based on the core belief that it is possible to cultivate a better understanding of our deepest nature, which in turn facilitates new levels of mental calm and self-acceptance.
So our inspiration really comes from our love and gratitude to our own teachers. They spent so much time and care with us over many, many years.
Kaizen Rinpoche was extraordinarily compassionate. He had a terrific sense of humor, and just his ability to be present and immediate and just there. Adzon Rinpoche is extraordinarily compassionate and grounded.
And we've had extraordinary experiences with Adzon Rinpoche, whom I met in Tibet in 96. And I've had many, 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 many hours of just, one-on-one conversation, a person who has tens of thousands of students to attend to. Okay, there's this wealth of cultural wisdom in Tibet. It's encoded in texts, in practices, in rituals, in art, and many people in the West are attracted to it, and yet Westerners are Westerners. We're Westerners. We're not monastics. We may dedicate our lives to practice in our heart of hearts, but we have families, we have jobs, we have all kinds of responsibilities. So how can we communicate and really experience transformation through these practices? For that, some kind of bridging is necessary. We're also a community center, nonprofit community center, which is the hub of our work extending life skills, the life skills of cultivating calm, of cultivating ease in life, of cultivating kindness.
What did you do today that you liked?
Make the glittery thing to show your anger.
And what happened when you shook up the glittery thing?
It made me feel a little bit like I wanted to meditate in peace.
And then the Research Institute is where we look at what we can provide by way of information gained through research for the interested public. So we've mentioned that our own teachings here, which are drawn from work that we've done, our own translation work, our own study, and so forth, some of these will start appearing as pamphlets for practitioners here, and some of them will become books that will be published and will be widely available to the larger public. And I am right now in the process of gathering a team to translate a text from this tradition, which he powerfully feels, and which I also have a very, very strong wish to see translated. And we hope to do more of that. We've seen people telling us how their lives have changed, how their lives are improved, the comfort, the inspiration that they feel coming to Dawn Mountain. We really are inspired to envision a way that Dawn Mountain becomes a stable beacon and place of gathering for people who wish to practice at whatever level.
I trust the teachings. I feel in the place. I feel that I am constantly fed.
And I can feel my breathing better because of the way my legs are positioned.
How long have you been sitting like that?
I learned it when I started coming here.
And it's not only been in the spiritual sense, but also in every aspect of my daily life. I feel that I'm less stressed out. I don't get as angry or as depressed as I used to.
It's good. It teaches me how to kind of relax and be mindful and help with school and stuff like that whenever I get aggravated.
One of our projects that has come to partial fruition is that we have developed a curriculum, which is posted on our website, that explains the open matrix of what a spiritual path can be supported here at Dawn Mountain.
We've slowly become aware of the power of the media, and it is clear now that there is great interest in both our broadcasts from here, and from time to time we might be able to have broadcasts from Asia with Adzom Rinpoche or his sister Anila. Without students, there are no teachers, and without teachers, there are no students. We all dependently create one another. So we're very, very excited by the energy that is in the community. The community is alive, it is supportive, it is growing, and it really wishes to thrive, and we want to participate in that thriving in every way that we can. But we're really talking about finding a space of shared values. And if individuals share the values that we have in terms of coming to a deep appreciation of our innermost nature, then come and participate. That's the most significant thing that we can do together. Just sharing our participation is lovely and meaningful. And anything above and beyond that by way of offering service for this community, offering financial, flows naturally. And we expect that that will just be a natural outflow for people because of that shared interest.
So I want to add to the answer that I gave you, Robert. Gary pointed out that when he's talked to Harvey about his own discomfort and pain practicing, that Harvey recommended that he really be with the pain, really look into it and really experience it. Which I'm surprised that didn't come to me, because that is a classic way to deal with discomfort and pain. And as Gary pointed out, it actually helped him a lot, because, it's going to dissipate. Maybe not right away, and it may continue to come back, but if you can really work with it in that way, that's another tool for overcoming discomfort. So I would just add it to all the things that I suggested, because there's different kinds of pain, and to the extent that it has to do with your posture or your cushion or experiment. But to the extent that it's like your knee is aching, and no matter what you do, your knee is aching, then I think this idea of doing what we do a lot, and that is to really be with it, experience it. Don't try to push it away. Don't try to pretend it's not happening, but really just be with it and experience it. And then under that scrutiny, it will begin to dissipate. Thank you, Gary. So any other questions at this time? Anything we want to talk about before we do another meditation? Okay, then we'll do some meditation. So we want to find our posture again. Again, with the keys being a naturally straight back, a long neck, a soft, unfocused gaze down the bridge of your nose. And then once you have your posture set up, you can relax your body. And relax your energy. Allow your mind to relax. Gently place your attention on the breath. Again, keeping in mind that we're not trying to stop thoughts, because that will agitate us. It's impossible. Thoughts are not the problem. Getting lost in thought is the problem. So what we want to do is just allow the thoughts to dissolve back where they came from. And again, thinking of waves in an ocean can be helpful. The wave arises and then it ceases. And we're unconcerned. We notice it, but we're not concerned with it. Our attention is on the breath and experiencing the body breathing. Release. Relax. we become distracted, we notice that we're distracted. And without judgment, we simply return our attention to the breath. Now we bring our awareness to our heart center and the syllable home. Again, representing our primordial wisdom, our innate knowing, the knowing that we have and can access when we are inner present, naturally present. There's a knowingness, a wisdom that's available. And this is what we're going to resonate with and allow ourselves to merge with. We rest with our heart-mind open, clear, awake, undistracted, present. You know, I think it's inspiring, it's comforting to recognize that what we're trying to do is be natural. You know, in other words, it's our natural state that we're trying to get to or uncover, relax into. You know, so it's not something we have to create from scratch or build or construct or figure out, you know. We just have to uncover it, peel it back and reveal it and then learn to rest there and abide there and experience life from there. You know, there's a lot being said these days about authenticity, which I love. You know, Brene Brown, everybody talks about authenticity. We talk about it here a lot. But that's what it means, at least to me, is, you know, to be able to be your natural self, be really authentic, and just totally available to your friends and your family and to yourself, to your work, to your whatever it is you're doing. Just be available, all of you. Which makes it exciting because then you don't know what's going to happen. You know, it's life then is the mystery it's meant to be. And, you know, it's full of possibility and surprises and joy. And so it's pretty wonderful what we're doing. So does anyone have any questions? Observations, thoughts, concerns?
Like the train.
Yeah, I do too. That's a nice touch. Good, because I don't want to start on another. Ooh. We'll do your question, then or your comment.
I'm not really sure if this is a question or a comment. It's sort of like the thing I've been trying not to say all night.
Really?
Yeah. So earlier today, I got on Facebook, which might have been the first mistake, and then I saw an article that actually Mac posted about sort of a critique of mindfulness.
There's a lot of those out there these days. That's what I was referring to on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, and you know, I tend to be kind of skeptical of that, like, oh, come on, really? Is mindfulness that bad? But I mean, sometimes you do hear of some pretty like sketchy applications.
Yeah.
You know, like mindfulness for like dating, or mindfulness for like optimizing your company's return, or, you know,
it's like everything though, to me, in that case. It's what is your motivation? You know?
I guess part of what hooked me about this article was how Buddhist is mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't really know if it's like a question or a comment. You know, this is something I've thought about a lot. I don't really know. You know, clearly the practices that we would call mindfulness practices grow out of a Buddhist context. But does that mean they're Buddhist? I'm just curious to hear your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Or feel free to like ignore
No.
this comment or question.
No,
or
I mean, I spoke to it Sunday about as much as I can, but clearly Ann and Harvey would be a much better person to have this conversation with, because I'm sure they have some strong feelings about it and a lot of interesting thoughts, particularly after all the Mind Life conferences and things that they've been to, or Ann's been to recently. You know, when I first started hearing about the critiques of mindfulness and the potentially misapplications, I was sort of like, what? How can mindfulness be bad, you know, in any form? But the ones that I felt had some merit in terms of thoughtful consideration were the ones that challenged whether the tradition would be watered down if mindfulness practices were taken up by people who, you know, didn't have any inclination in that direction, or if more and more people simply avail themselves of mindfulness without the tradition and the teachings. But like I said Sunday, for me, because of who we are here at Dawn Mountain, the fact that we carry both missions in terms of, you know, we are rooted in the teachings, we are rooted in the ancient wisdom and the transmission, and we have lineage. We are honoring the authentic teachings. Whatever we're doing is coming directly out of that. Yeah. You know, so your class for mindfulness, you know, for everyone, the stuff that we're doing with the families. So I would be hesitant to try and talk about other people, what other people are doing with their mindfulness courses. Again, for me, if the intention, the motivation is pure, how can mindfulness not be a good thing? But obviously there's a lot being said. And I'm sure there are instances where, and I've read, Google has, these classes and everybody's saying, and they work their people to death, but they give them mindfulness. But, that's not, in my opinion, that's not about mindfulness. That's something about, what are their intentions there, and if they're offering mindfulness classes to their folks so that they can work them harder, that's not a good motivation. But if they're doing it because they want to help them, deal with their stress that is being caused by all that, the challenges of their work, I'm not going to try and judge that. But obviously a lot of people are. I just know for us and what we're doing here, I see no issue, because we are certainly, amazingly so, rooted in tradition, and everything we're doing is coming out of that. And we're offering traditional practice alongside all the mindfulness things that we're doing. It's an interesting debate. It'll be interesting to see, what comes of it. Yeah. But again, I think it's probably better discussed with Ann and Harvey. But I'm happy to. And we don't have much time left, but we could maybe talk about it for another minute or so.
I should just say, having raised the point, that I felt really good about the way we do it at Dumb Mountain.
Yes.
Because it's definitely not.
Yeah, there could be no misconstrued.
I'll probably just get myself in trouble for this. There's a difference in mindfulness for Google and mindfulness that we practice in a spiritual practice in terms of intent and depth of practice usually.
Right.
And anything that anybody does for depth of focus can be used for good purposes or bad. And that just comes down to ethics and morality.
Right. Right.
And, I've sat in one tradition of Buddhism where I haven't heard this so much in Tibetan Buddhism, where they talk about the Hinayana and the lower, and they don't have the proper motivation. Yet I've sat with many IMS teachers for Vipassana, and you always do loving kindness meditation. So although the ultimate goal philosophically might be different, the practice and intent is very Mahayana, and Ann's talked about that.
Right.
And yet I've sat in Zen traditions where it was just assumed that would grow out of the Zen practice, maybe with Kuan Sam Bosar Kuan Yin chanting. So in all of it, it really comes down to individual and intent.
Right, I agree.
And then fads.
I agree. And I would just add one thing, though, Claire. I think the other thing is, for people, if practitioners, someone who's on the path, if they only avail themselves of the mindfulness aspects of it and think that that's then the end goal, then they would have missed. Because we know, those of us that are on that path, that mindfulness is the beginning. It's to train you so that you have stability. The clarity is where it gets juicy. And that requires more than mindfulness meditation. That requires working with your mind after you've attained the stability. So I think that is what I find intriguing. If there were Dharma centers that were only offering mindfulness, and that was the end of it, then I think that would be, a real departure from what is historically done. Yeah. So if there are no other questions, I think we'll move into...
I pressed the button. Green. Yeah. I took a great courses course in mindfulness, and by a college professor from Harvard, and he spent about 45 minutes eating a tangerine, very slowly, and then another 20 minutes
Thich Nhat Hanh-ish.
talking about an itch,
Uh-huh.
and which could be very helpful for whoever had the pain when they meditate. That's a good way. Mindfulness is a good way to realize the pain and work through it.
Yes.
And it dissipates.
Thank you. You sure? Okay. Okay, so we'll do our dedications. So that's on the handout sheet. Oh, yeah.
Is that the prayer book?
Yes.
I know somebody in the Bardo.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay. So this evening we're going to especially bring to mind Buddy, Kevin, Deborah, her father in the hospital and whole family, all suffering children, Bobby, Karen and family, Greg and Sarah, Joseph, Yola, Neville family, Spivey family, Ann and Harvey, Joe and Lisa, Kevin and Mary, Martha and Audrey, Tony H., Betty, Greg, Helen, Thich Nhat Hanh, Jack Phillips and family, Ann and Harvey, Todd, Tessa, Ann, Mark Wallace, Rosie, Rosie's mom, Bardo, Eleanor Day, George, George III, Linda, Jerry, Tabby, Caden, Avery, Carlos and Beverly, Herbie, Adam, all animals, Fadia Malak, Phoebe Crane, Kevin Powell, Brooke, Claire, dissertation, Renee, Kim and Gloria Luong, Jennifer Welsh, Freedom Dindell, Sandy Clark. The victims of this shooting in Pakistan. And all sentient beings. So we bring all of these folks to mind. By this good may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. May all beings always have happiness and its causes. May all beings always be free of pain and its causes. For as long as space abides, as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. We'll do the long life prayer here for His Holiness. In a pure land ringed by snow mountains, source of bliss and benefit for all, powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig, lotus feet placed hundreds of years, fill vast space with your activities. Om Swasti, a flawless refuge sources give blessings, teacher, protector, kind Dharma Lord. Jerme Tupten Gyatso wondrous good, lotus feet ever deeds everywhere. So I've sort of done some of the announcements, but just to recap, our new teaching series with Ann and Harvey will start the third Tuesday in January 20th, January 20th. Do we want to say anything about that just yet?
Well, it's going to actually have a text, which is the book you mentioned, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying.
Yeah, so the source text for this course is going to be Sogyal Rinpoche's The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. So it's going to be really, really wonderful. And this series, I know, is meant to be preparation and to sort of get headed into the spring retreat that will be in April. So it's going to be a really rich and full program. So we'll have Claire's class that starts in January, Simone's Mindful Discovery for the 9 to 12-year-olds that starts in January, and Ann and Harvey's series. So a lot of wonderful things in the new year.
On January 31st.
A one-day Vajrasattva retreat, January 31st. What day of the week is that? Saturday, January 31st. Wonderful. Wonderful. So anything else? Oh, thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Second and fourth Practice Tuesdays. Thank you. Yes, thank you. 6:30 on the second and fourth Tuesdays. We gather here from 6:30 to 7:45.
And I just want to say, because this is our last Teaching Tuesday of the year, right? Just a couple of special personal thank yous to some folks who've done some amazing work, of course, all year and this week. I want always to thank Gary and Jessica.
Yes, thank you so much, Gary and Jessica.
The reliability and the grace of those two human beings is just astounding to me. And Deborah came and sorted all of our sacred texts and put them lovingly into Ann and Harvey's offices.
Oh.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, Deborah.
And
Lovely.
has been secretly at work enhancing so many of our IT capabilities, and we're working on yet another little project. My holiday gift to Ann Harvey is a couple of flagpoles, so that soon.
I saw those. Wonderful.
Thanks to Robert and Gary for helping me with that.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Robert.
Everyone who works so hard and brings so much to Dawn Mountain, I can't thank you enough.
And thank you, Mary Scott. Please. Thank you. Yes. Yes, we have an exciting 2015 before us, for sure. So, thank you. And if anyone wants to be part of this that's not already, please let us know. There's plenty to be done. We welcome your involvement in whatever ways. Good night.